Guardian, amongst other papers, featuring on a first call-up in particular for Cole Palmer, the name on everybody's lips. Miguel, are we in danger of blowing up a young man too much too soon? We've seen it before.
I don't think so, actually, and I don't think Palmer has the personality that would exactly be effective. I mean, he's sure of himself. I was at the game on Sunday, and I should say as well. I mean, he's sure of himself in that way that serves a player that I know, already know that Mauricio Pochettino really likes. But I think in terms of this call up and this week, it's maybe, and sometimes this can be the making of careers in that sense, just that confluence of events that comes together. First of all, he's obviously been really good form for Chelsea. That felt like it went to another level in what kind of looked like a launchpad performance against his old club, Man City. Then we go into an international break where maybe, say, if something was on the line, although to be fair, given how England have been going for the last decade, there's very rarely games in November where they actually need to win to qualify. It's very different to the 90s or even the early 2000s in that sense. But, had it been maybe a game where England needed to win, Southgate might have been a bit more cautious with his call-ups. As it is, they're two dead rubbers from an English perspective, so perfect to give players a try. And who knows? I mean, if Palmer seizes the chance, as we've seen before, I mean, he could well be, a shoe-in for the Euro 2024 squad. It does feel like something has really shifted in his career now. I know people will say that's a bit of an exaggeration after one match, but it's how quickly he settled into Chelsea. And it's very quickly gone from a transfer where I think maybe just because he hadn't played that much at City and the fee that Chelsea paid for him, 42.5 million, maybe there was a bit of a sense in the game. It was a bit confusing. Whereas now it looks like one of those that just makes sense for all parties.
Let's look at the other side of the England coin, Charlotte, with the Star. Stir crazy down the bottom of their back page. Rio Ferdinand stunned by Raheem's snub. Is it slightly odd? The feeling around football seems to be that although Gareth Southgate says, no, there's nothing going on, there's nothing that you don't know about, there's a suspicion, isn't there, that there's some reason we don't know about why Raheem Sterling has not been called up again?
It does seem a bit bizarre given his current form, but I suppose the only way you could possibly look at it this time around is, like Miguel said, these games don't mean anything at the moment, so it's time for Gareth Southgate to experiment. You're not going to call up Cole Palmer and Raheem Sterling, so if you're going to want to have a look at one or the other, Gareth Southgate knows exactly what Raheem Sterling can bring to his squad. I'd be really surprised if he carries on in the form that he's shown at the minute. If he isn't included in the next squad after that, I think then there would need to be serious questions asked, because obviously we're getting closer to the Euros and what Southgate's squad going to look like. But at the minute, maybe it's time for Southgate to experiment. He's got these 3 uncapped players that he's called up. Obviously, Rico Lewis and Ezri Konsa are the other 2 who were called up today for the first time to the senior setup. It's a chance for Southgate to experiment. And like I said before, he knows what Raheem Sterling can do. He can do a job, and especially in the form we've seen him for Chelsea at the moment, I think the next couple of months are going to be really crucial in terms of how that relationship is repaired, if there is something wrong with it, and how they move on from here going forward.
Miguel, would you expect to see Sterling in the squad in Germany next summer?
I have to say I'm not sure. I think it's at that point where Sterling basically has to sort of hit career form or some of his best form to change Southgate's mind. Now, to be fair to Southgate, he's actually been maybe a little bit hard line in some of these decisions over the past few years, the way a player who has been a loyal servant can suddenly just be ousted. But then he's been just as quick to bring players back in. But maybe given he knows Sterling so well, given the kind of, suppose, the direction of the squad over the past few months and how other players have basically almost taken Sterling's place, not just in terms of position, but in terms of influence and importance in the team, I think he'd at this point have to do a lot to change Southgate's mind. But Sunday may have been another signal that that's possible. I mean, he'd had 1 or 2 good performances at the start of this season, but I think that sort of display against a team like City is a different level again, and more of that, and he'll make it impossible for Southgate to leave him out. But that's what it has to come down to, I think.